put that down here so you guys can see. Primary, secondary, tertiary. Okay. The primary market would be like cities greater than 100,000 people. I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking like in my mind, I'm thinking like Savannah. Like if you get into a city and you search like storage and like all the REITs come up, like U-Haul, Extra Space, Public Storage, and all these come up, that is a primary market. REITs. If you see a lot of facilities that are like 2-story and 3-story, one building facilities and stuff, that's like primary market. Okay, right? You can't build like a not going to build like a 3-story building in like a small city or something like this. Okay, I mean typically in smaller cities you're going to have like smaller facilities and things like this. But like so primary market is like big cities and suburbs of big cities. Okay. A secondary market, I would say population is 25K to 100K. Okay. And it's like standalone cities in your state. Okay. And then also, there's like no REITs. There's no REITs, or maybe like if it's like 100,000 town, there might be like a REIT in there or something like that when you get up. Like so, for instance, like we own a facility in Valdosta, Georgia, which has I think like 80,000 people, and there's like one CubeSmart there. Okay, so like, but that to me, that would still be considered like a secondary market. And you'll see like in secondary, like larger secondary markets that are like maybe, I would say like 75,000 to like maybe 250 or something population. I would say like maybe that's like a small, like a larger secondary market. You'll see like these like storage facility players that are not REITs, but they're like franchises or something like this, right? So like for instance, one of my students said that like a franchise like where they have facilities in like 10 states called her and asked her if she'd be willing to sell her facility. And so you'll see that like in secondary markets, you see these like franchises that own a whole bunch of different facilities, maybe along the East Coast or in the Midwest or something like that, where they have like 100 or 200 facilities or something. And they're not REITs, right? They're not huge big players, but they're like they're smaller like secondary players is where they are. Okay, so just keep your eye out for that too. But you can still have like that is not bad. Like we have, for instance, like Bolt Storage, right? Is like a huge big one, or 10 Federal Storage, and they're like huge big players, and like they're competition to us, right? And we're in secondary markets and tertiary markets in some places too. So like you'll still have them as competition. Okay, so smaller players essentially you'll see. And then the tertiary market is country. It could be less than 25,000 population, not $25,000, 25,000 population. And there could be in the suburbs of secondary markets. And they can be like, or they can be country, like small towns, like in the middle of the country. Okay. So that would be primary, secondary, tertiary markets. And we own 11 facilities in secondary and tertiary markets is where we're at. And actually, that's not true. We own in the primary market too, because we bought several, like we have one in Noonan, Georgia, and one in Fayetteville, Georgia, which like when we bought them, they were really kind of considered country, but now they're like not country anymore because like it's just booming. And like Fayetteville, Georgia is, I would consider that like a primary market. And actually, because we keep track of all of our competition, and like it's so funny. There's us, and then it used to be like little tiny smaller players around us on Fayetteville. And now like all those smaller players like us have all been bought up by by REITs and stuff. So so we now are like, I would consider us like for that facility, I would consider that a primary market. You know, and then the other ones, everything else be either secondary or tertiary market. So interesting, right? So I guess because we bought that one 5 years ago, which was like, I'm telling you, nobody wanted to be in storage 5 years ago. Like I was storage, was like people were like, what, storage? You're crazy. And you know, but now like of course everybody wants to do it. So that was a very good buy.